Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Bold Leaders in Learning. I'm your co host, Brandon Busteed, Chief Partnership Officer and Global Head of Learn, Work, Innovation at Kaplan. We're delighted to have not one, but two awesome guests with us today. And I will start off the bat by introducing my Kaplan colleague, Dientje Francis-Lawrence, who's going to introduce our guests for today. So, Dientje, tell us what we've got in store here.
Hey, welcome Andy and welcome Paul. We've got a very exciting lineup today. I thought we could first start off with just getting a little bit of background from Paul and Andy about the Financial Modeling Institute and how they're making a part of its board now. So maybe you go first, Andy.
Yeah, so I got introduced to the Financial Modeling Institute through and FYI for your listeners, I'm a former Kaplanite, and I used to run all the financial training assets for Kaplan. So I got introduced through the Marquee Group, which is an organization that provides financial training to large organizations, and met this wonderful gentleman named Ian Schnur in the process, and we just hit it off. And it should be obvious that as a former finance professor and running those bits for Kaplan, that I'm keenly interested in financial modeling as a discipline.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Paul, do you want to share a little bit about your story?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. I used to run something called the CFA Institute, and whilst I was doing that, I guess it would be about 5 years ago now. I met with Ian, who Andy name checked, really to see whether people who are doing the Chartered Financial Analyst qualification would also benefit from a little bit of practical learning, really. Often the accusation leveled against charter holders is that it's a lot of book learning, not a great deal of practical skill sets, perhaps, that are required, although I don't happen to agree with that, but that was the accusation. So we were looking for things to do to add some practical value to our members. And so I started to talk to Ian around that. And I believe that conversation with the CFA is ongoing to this day, and may or may not lead somewhere. But we recognized that analysts need better financial modeling skills than they currently have. And so, that wasn't a great insight as such. It was pretty obvious. And so that conversation started then. And when I retired from the Institute, Ian asked me to come onto the board and to become a small shareholder, which I have done in the FMI, and trying to help them grow and develop that business.
Yeah, so Paul, you've had a really interesting career, worked all over the globe, US, UK, France, Hong Kong, I believe. What's it been like working across, different countries, different financial rules and programs? Are there more similarities, et cetera? Like I'm just curious what you've taken from that global experience as well.
Regrettably, one size doesn't fit all. As much as when one's thinking about developing a global business, as much as one wants to feel that you can have a cookie cutter approach to it, that one solution is going to work in 250 countries out there, the reality is that it doesn't. And then you have to sort of kind of step back from that, particularly if you work for North American institutions, which I primarily have done in my career. It's quite hard because the domestic market in North America is so huge that it's difficult for businesses that are moving globally from out of North America to tailor their products for much smaller markets. There's a frustration there that inevitably develops. Why won't this work in, wherever, pick a country, Singapore, Hong Kong, whatever? It should work there. And we need it to work there because we can't get the economies of scale to operate unless that it does. And so that's the challenge, but it's a wonderful challenge. It's great to try and solve that puzzle. Regulators are all part of that puzzle, and actually, in many ways, the most dysfunctional part of that puzzle, because alas, regulators all have financial skin in the game. They often are funded through their own local examination processes or through their own local training courses. And so as you come in from outside, you have to figure out ways to partner with those regulators. You can't compete with the regulator. That ain't going to work. You're not going to win that argument, basically. At the end of the day, the regulators, the lawmakers are in the pockets of the regulators, not the other way around. They're not going to listen to you as the outsider. So you have to adapt yourself to find ways in which you can bring your products in a cost-effective way to the local markets. And as I say, that's really hard coming out of a huge market like North America, because your instinct is always to try to impose your view of the world on other people. And I think that's the final thing that I would say. I mean, as you can hear from my voice, I'm not American. I'm British. I apologize for that. It's an accident of birth. I blame my mother for that. But there we are. And one of the things that I think it's important for people, international executives, to have. And I know Andy subscribes to this as well on a lot of the writings that he's done in his life, is curiosity. Curiosity without judgment. Why do other countries operate differently? Why is the legal system different? Why is the regulatory system different? It's not because they haven't thought about it. It's not because they're willfully being difficult. It's because there are local reasons behind that, and you have to be curious without judging. You have to understand. You have to put yourself out to try to understand, and then you have to communicate that back to your team and to get them to understand why they need to do things differently if you're going to address that market. And so that's really what I learned more than anything else, that your job is to intermediate really between cultures, to try and build those bridges and to try and bring your programs to foreign markets in a cost-effective way, which is easier said than done, frankly.
Yeah, no, I love the curiosity versus judgmental mindset in that process. That could be applied to a lot of things, certainly. So that's good stuff. Dientje, I'll kick it back to you there.
Thanks, Brandon. So, Andy, I've got a question for you. You were here at Kaplan for many, many years, and then you were at Schweizer study program. Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience you were able to apply to what you're doing today?
Yeah, I think I'll use the phrase. I'll focus on storytelling. We're here to talk about financial modeling and the importance of finance, generally financial acumen. Finance is the language of business. And there are far too many folks in this world who have pushed back on learning the fundamentals of mathematics, which then leads into the development of a solid understanding of both personal finance and finance as it relates to the businesses and institutions that one works for. So one of the key future-facing skills that I'm focused on, and on my podcast, I'll be running a series on financial acumen this fall. But this concept of understanding how everything all fits together within an organization. I'm so proud to be involved with the Financial Modeling Institute, because a really good financial model tells the story of a project, of an acquisition, of how a company is set up to not only survive but thrive. And one of the things that bothers me as an educator and as a finance professional is how a lot of people in various parts of organizations and institutions, they kind of pass off all things finance to the finance department and assume that somebody else is going to do that work, especially the work of interpretation exposition of the story to people in finance. Now, of course, there are experts that one must lean on, but when a financial model is developed and that story is then supporting a broader story of an acquisition or of a project, we've got to get more people from the marketing department and technology and operations and production to understand the basics of what's happening and not just assume that somebody else knows. So yes, financial modeling is something that the experts do, but that does not take away the responsibility of leaders and managers and individual contributors all across an institution to understand, what those numbers are telling us.
I think that's such a powerful statement, Andy. It sort of harks back to what Paul was saying. Like, what's the story behind what I'm seeing, what the data is showing, whether it's a regulator and rules that apply, or it's data that you're looking at from your financial modeling team. It's interesting, more and more we're seeing in K-12 even starting, like the whole curriculum they're including financial literacy, and then they're starting to build that all the way through college. And that's very, very encouraging. But thanks for sharing that. That's such a powerful story for all of us. Oh, Brandon, off to you.
Yeah, no, I'm just, I hope the audience is picking up on some of this language, for Paul to be talking about curiosity and Andy to be talking about storytelling. Those usually aren't things that are part of a topic around finance, right? People think about it as just the numbers and, staying within, very specific lanes and things like that. And obviously a theme of both of your careers has been, trying to bring and mold the technical competencies with more of the behavioral skills and attributes that make for this. And so just kind of pointing out some of the language here that I know has shaped your careers and thinking. Paul, one of the things I was also interested in was your involvement with Sustained Finance. I know you're one of the founding partners of that organization, which is really dedicated to, helping fiduciaries better integrate sustainability into their decision-making processes. I think about this through the lens of universities and university trustees and institutions that have thought a lot about sustainability. To what degree are they factoring that into their endowment investment decisions? Are they factoring that into their campus planning, et cetera? But in any event, I would love it if you could tell us a little bit more about the importance of this thinking of sustainability and how that plays into something like financial modeling, for example.
Often I think, sustainability gets confused with the environment and other things. I mean, really, the secret is in the word, and I'm delighted you used sustainability, and obviously that's why we had it in Sustained Finance. It's really no more than classical finance, really, when you think about it. It's how do you invest wisely for the long term? And as you rightly said, that is something that pension plans, ERISA plans in the US, pension plans globally, really need to think very carefully about, because their liabilities are of a long-term nature. So sustainability of your investment program, of the underlying investments that you make, is very important. And the conversation that society is having, really, and I want to go back to something that Dientje was saying, that really, finance is a tool. It's not an end of itself. It's there to help society achieve its goals. And so what the sustainability conversation is all about is what are we trying to get out of finance? What sort of world do we want to build for the long term? And you don't have to, be a cardigan wearing, open-toed sandaled tree hugger to sort of, think that that's an important concept to get through. What is sustainable? And there are opportunities, opportunities when we look at the energy market today. How are we going to make our energy market sustainable in the broadest sense? And there are risks that we all have to face. Whether you believe climate change is man-made or not isn't really the conversation. The conversation is the climate is changing, and that's self-evident to anybody with a pair of eyes. And so, how do we face up to these things that are occurring to us? How do we want to shape finance to be a better tool for what we're doing? To bring it back to financial modeling, as Andy was saying, a financial model, again, is just a tool. But if you think about the sustainability conversation, it's so nuanced, it's so complex, that what you need are really smart models to help you through that, because there isn't one answer. Data is quite weak in certain areas at the moment, and the number of permutations and the number of variables in any investment scenario is so huge, and getting even more complicated when you add geopolitics on top of all of this as well, that you really need to model your investments out in a very sophisticated, very challenging, very nuanced, very flexible way. So financial modeling skills are really, really important to the sustainability debate is the short answer to that. Without good models, without flexible models, without scenario planning, we're not going to be able to pilot our way through the very challenging environment that I think we all find ourselves in, and we all feel that we're in at the moment, wherever we happen to sit in the world.